Welcome to Autism Parenting Summit, brought to you by our sponsors. Platinum sponsors. Gut Brain Axis Therapeutics Incorporated. Gut Brain Axis Therapeutics is developing microbiota transplant therapy for treating gastrointestinal symptoms and autism symptoms. Hardy Nutritionals. For over 20 years, Hardy Nutritionals has helped people improve mental wellness naturally. Their research-backed micronutrient formulas are trusted by healthcare professionals worldwide to support mood, focus, and emotional resilience without the side effects of traditional treatments. Autism Treatment Center of America. At the Autism Treatment Center of America, we believe every child with autism has unlimited potential. Through our Sunrise program, we guide and empower families to connect, communicate, and inspire growth, transforming lives one joyful moment at a time. Innate Healthcare Institute. At Innate Healthcare Institute, we imagine a future where children with autism have access to the most advanced healing therapies available. Based in Scottsdale, Arizona, our clinic combines regenerative and integrative medicine to help unlock each child's fullest potential. North Florida Stem Cells. North Florida Stem Cells, led by Dr. Eric Weiss, is dedicated to providing innovative stem cell therapy for children with autism, helping families explore new possibilities for improved quality of life. Gold sponsors. Autism Parenting Magazine. Join a thriving community of families and unlock the potential of your child. Autism Learning Network. Join a community that understands. Unlock a wealth of resources. Access expert advice, practical tools, and shared wisdom.
Hello, I'm Sharon Longo, the editor of Autism Parenting Magazine. Welcome to our summit presentation on the topic of effective transition techniques with Adam and Holly Anderson. We're so glad you could join us. Adam and Holly are the parents of 5 children, and their 2 youngest are autistic. After a near-death experience with one of their children, they sold their house, quit their jobs, moved into an RV full-time, and traveled with their 5 kids to all the national parks in the U.S. They share their adventures and unique normal on their YouTube channel, 7 Ahead, that currently receives between 500,000 and 1 million views per month. Adam and Holly's new hyper-focus is on building strong relationships with their kids and finding joy in the journey. They share their movement through their books, membership sites, and coaching programs, helping millions around the world. Welcome, Adam and Holly. Let's get right to our presentation.
We are so excited to be here. We're excited to talk to you about effective ways to manage autism and transitions. We've done a lot of transitions before.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a little bit of experience about transitions with our 5 kids. They have taught us a lot, and we've also made lots of mistakes. And we want to share those mistakes with you so that you don't have to make them. So, yes, transitions, lots of fun.
So we have, as we mentioned, 5 kids. Our 2 youngest have autism. And so you can see here on the screen, Ezra, he is 9 years old and he has level 3 autism. He's nonverbal and communicates through an iPad. We help him do some RPM and different things to try and help him communicate. But he is a ton of fun and an adventure for us for sure. So we'll be talking a lot about transitions and how they help him immensely and how necessary, absolutely necessary they are.
Yeah, it can be tricky because he is completely nonverbal. He literally he's not able to say anything. So transitions are a big deal in communication for sure. And this one right here is Simon. He's our youngest. He is 5 years old. You can see this is what he looked like in preschool, only 3 years old. And this picture right here is actually of him when he stuck up a bean up his nose, and I don't know how long it was there for. It was quite a while, but it started stinking really bad. So we took him to the doctor's office. He's so cute sitting right there. He's so worried that he's like in trouble. It wasn't too traumatic, but we did a whole video on that on our YouTube channel. And he was able to, just learn the hard way, not to stick things up your nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
you can scan that QR code in the bottom corner, and we will put together a list of all the things that we talk about, including the presentation notes and the slides, so you don't have to worry about writing everything down. Just enjoy it, and we'll put in the links to the movies that we talk about, like as Simon getting the bean up his nose and different things. So if you want to check those out from our YouTube channel, you can as well.
yeah, we'll have a bunch of free resources there. And Simon has level 1 autism. He is very verbal. And so I feel like with Ezra and Simon, we get to have a really neat experience in our home because we have 2 kids that are, even though they're diagnosed both as autistic, they're just kind of the opposites on the spectrum. We get one really, really over here and one really, really over here. They are a lot of fun and they're a joy and a really important part of our family.
So we actually, speaking of transitions, big transitions, so we're going to be talking about big and small transitions today and how to help our kiddos navigate through those. One very big transition that we did after Ezra, we thought that he had leukemia for 2 weeks. That was a very difficult.
Yeah, the doctors told us he has leukemia, and we took him home for 2 weeks. It was really scary.
And so, as you can imagine, processing that and really thinking about life and the things that matter most, we realized that, man, who cares about possessions, who cares about the money, who cares about the house? Like, what we really wanted to focus on from there on out was our experiences and our relationships that we have with our kids. And so we actually did something pretty crazy, I would say. We'd never even been in an RV before in our life.
One night.
Like not one night,
No.
either Holly or I. I mean, we've been camping and stuff and done outdoor things, but never an RV. We sold our house and we moved in to an RV full time with our 5 kids. And we went to visit all the national parks and to create those experiences with our kids. And it was incredible. A lot of hard things happened. We learned a lot about transitions. Obviously, that's a big transition, going from a home. At the time, we had Ezra and Simon. Simon was only 1 year old, though, so we did not yet know that he had autism. But Ezra, we knew that he had autism, and so it was a big transition to change from. But one thing that we did notice, that Ezra does love the outdoors, and that was one of the key factors too that made us want to do that. He, as far as going on hikes and stuff, like he just run and go and go and go, and so we wanted to create that experience. But there were some things that we definitely wanted to do. We chose actually the RV rather than going to hotels and different things, because one thing that's very important with transitions is consistency, routines, especially with children with autism. And so the fact that the kids could come home to the same place every night, no matter where we were across the United States, as Simon would get so excited.
He would just be jumping up and down because we are back in this RV. And I'm like, oh, this is your home. Like, this is like all you remember because you're so young.
Yeah, he just loved it. And that consistency. So that's one of the things that we'll talk about today as well with big transitions, is having at least some consistent frameworks and points that you can help your kiddos through those transitions.
Yeah, for sure. And so Adam mentioned it already, about big transitions and small transitions. So the big ones would be when you as a parent or caregiver or teacher need to create a new routine. For example, that child, maybe they need to go to a new school. That's a huge transition. Or maybe you need to move. You don't have to move into an RV, okay, and travel all the national parks in the US.
Wouldn't necessarily recommend that for everyone.
I wouldn't really recommend it. I'd recommend keeping your house. If you can do that, then that's great. But it was a good experience for us. It really pushed us out of our comfort zone. We learned a lot. And the small transitions would be something that I'm sure every parent in the world deals with on a daily basis, and that's okay, it's dinner time. I don't want to. I'm on my iPad. Okay, it's time to get ready for bed. I don't want to. I'm playing this game, or I'm really excited about what I'm doing. I'm really focused and interested in what I'm doing, and I don't want to go to bed. I don't, have a hard time. It's time to get in the car. It's time to leave your friend's house. Those are the small transitions that kind of plague us daily. And so it's good as a parent to just have lots of tools in your tool belt, because different days you're going to use a different tool. Different days you're going to use a different, parenting technique. And with different children, you'll, obviously know as you get to know that child more and more every day, you can use different things that will help. Ezra and Simon are very different from each other. And so we'll be sharing just from our home to yours specific things that have really helped each one of them in both of these categories. So we'll be going over a few tips and tricks about big transitions. When you are introducing a new routine, transitioning to a new morning routine or lifestyle, remember you are in transition time. And so it's okay, like give yourself permission to be a different type of a parent during that time. It's okay. It'll be great. And then don't introduce elements that you can't commit to, because you're introducing a brand new routine. So everything you introduce, that child may latch onto that and say, well, we did this last time. We're supposed to do it again, right? I use visual schedules and social stories. I'll be going into what a social story is and giving you an example of Simon's social story. Now he's entering kindergarten. Have a pre-experience to help anxiety, like when anxiety is low, so you can practice it when anxiety is low, so that later when it's actually game time, they have some experience and practice. And incorporate preferred activities, help them have a positive experience, and then prepare for sensory needs. So we'll be going over each one of these. The first one, you're in transition time, and the second one, don't introduce elements you can't commit to. Those two are super important. I want to share a story about how I had to remember these two things. So it was a few years ago when Simon, my youngest, level 1 autism, remember, like talk your ear off, he was going to go to preschool. And it's his first day of preschool. So this is a big transition time. And I was walking him from the parking lot where we parked to his classroom. He'd never been there before. He'd never really met his teachers, not in that environment anyway. And we were walking, and guess what we passed? We passed a very tempting slide and swing set. And it was the first day of school. And Simon, of course, wanted to go down the slide. He was begging me, can I go down the slide? Can I play on the swings? There were some other kids there that were there early at school. And we were early because it was the first day. And so, I was on time, I was early then. But I also knew myself, and I know a lot of times we're not early. A lot of times we're late. So I remembered that I'm in transition time. And so I didn't introduce that to him. I said, no, I was the mean mom. I was like, Simon, I'm really sorry, but going and playing on the slides and the swings, that is a sometimes thing. It's not an everyday thing. And today you're going to school. So I took him to school early. And then later, like a couple weeks into school, if we were early, sometimes we'd be like, okay, you can do the sometimes thing. But I'm so glad that I didn't introduce that slide and going down the slide and on that first day. Because you know what would have happened with my autistic son? He would have needed to do that every single morning. That would have been so important to him. And maybe with a neurotypical kid, yeah, they'll get mad, but then they'll get over it. But there are times and certain things, not everything, but certain things that can really get Simon upset and can ruin his entire day because a routine goes off, and something different happens, like, hey, my first day of school, I went down the slide and now we can't. Why? So remember you're in transition time and don't do things that you can't commit to. The next one is use visuals and social stories. And have a pre-experience when anxiety is low. So now we're going to talk about social stories, which is one of my favorite things. So a social story is basically a book with pictures and words about your future. Like, how awesome is that? How fun is that to sit down as a kid with your parent or teacher and be like, oh, this is what I'm going to do, and introduce a new experience to them.
So this is something, by the way, that so for me, this is a completely new concept, and I'm one that doesn't really have patience for things like that. So it's like, it's like
Make a scrapbook for your child.
the amazing thing though, technology these days is, yeah, it's actually really easy and something that not easy, but it's pretty easy, I guess, to just, you can create something like that online, no problem. And we can put some links in of programs that'll allow you to do this really easily. But it's something that makes a huge difference for kids. Like, especially, I mean, even neurotypical children, this could be very advantageous, but especially for those with autism, it really can help out. And it's one of those things where, like, I would never of my own do like no, you're just gonna go and you're gonna experience it. You're gonna figure it out.
You're like, tough it up.
Tough it up. But Holly's very good at this, and it makes such a difference as far as Simon and seeing how he's able to take on new experiences, and be actually excited about them and anticipating them. And so these social stories, taking the time beforehand, it is extra work, right? It's extra planning, but it's something that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, so with Simon's new kindergarten that he's going to go to, we did the two things. We did a social story, and then we actually went to the school to meet the teacher. And it was at a time where anxiety was low. So even though, I mean, he did have anxiety, he was crying in the car. Okay, people, like, it happens. But he had his older sister there to help him, Marie. She's 12. She's kind of like the second mother. She's just super caring for him. And she's going to be attending that school as well. So she wanted to come. And so it was just us four. I mean, it was just the teacher, me, Simon, and Marie. And as soon as he got there and he saw that everything was calm, there weren't any kids, he was able to meet each one of the teachers, and he was excited. He got excited. So he was able to experience that when anxiety was low. He's able to go to the library and go to the bathroom and see the bathroom and be like, okay, this is what it smells like. These are the bright lights. This public bathrooms are hard.
Yeah, that's one thing too. Like, we actually regressed with potty training with Simon.
Yeah.
Like, he was potty trained, and then we went to his new preschool at a different place, and the bathroom just scared him, and we regressed and had to kind of almost start over on potty training.
I think the second time was actually harder to teach him because
Yeah.
now he had this fearful experience.
Yeah.
Because we didn't do a social story and we didn't introduce him to that early.
And
So
we did
he
a video
learned
all about that with the guide and stuff. We'll put on this QR
training.
code that you can check out. But yeah, that's a big one for a lot of people as well. Potty training for sure.
It's hard, and I know my child, just like I'm sure you know your child. So I know that would be a big deal for him if he got scared of the bathroom. He would just hold it. Like, he would go in his pants. This would create a big problem. And so here we are, just as parents, trying to prevent these things from happening, right? To help these just transitions go smoothly. So one of the pages, as you can see on the slide, that I made for Simon for his social story, explains to him a routine of what he's supposed to do when he goes to his class. The very first thing he does is he says, I stand in line till the bell rings, I find my name and answer the question. So isn't this adorable? Every day she has a new question, and they find their name, they put their name in either yes or no as they're answering the question, and that's how she takes attendance. And then they go into the class. And so he did that. He was able to actually do the routine that he's expected to do. And so this also helps lessen anxiety and help smooth the transition, because now he's done it before. There's a lot less new things, right? Not everything is scary and new, because some things he's already done before. So one page is, I took him to the gym. This is where he's going to be eating lunch. So he ran around the gym, and even though it's going to be full of people when he goes, it's going to be a little bit more scarier. at least he's got this picture. He can remember this happy memory he's had in the gym, and hopefully the transition will be smoother. And then the second one is when he enters the classroom, if he's early enough before the second bell's rung, he can choose between different activities. So we went over this and we said, hey, you can either go play in the sensory bin, you can go pick a game in this area, and then at this table, there'll be little coloring things to do. You can choose what to do. And that way he knows what to expect. Another thing, and this was just genius, and this is what actually it was the teacher's idea. She told me about this. And she said, if he gets sad or mad and he needs to take a break, he's going to be sitting right there. He can take a book and sit in a little quiet area. And so we had him practice, and it was now he knows where to go if he needs a little time by himself, if he just needs a little break from, other people or the teacher. And so there he is with his little book, just sitting there. It's like very used to it. And another one is for every class he went to, his art class, movement class, computer class, his library, he has music class. This is his little computer class. So he was able to stand right outside the door and wait. And that's where all the kids will wait in line until the teacher lets them in and sit down with the computer and get excited about this computer class. He was ecstatic when he saw all of those little computers.
So you can see just the fact that Simon going over this and actually reading this social story, basically the book of his life, really mentally preparing him, getting him even excited to do it. It's going to be so much better than showing up. There's a million people, kids are running everywhere. He has no idea where he's going. Like you can just see how, like the way that I would typically just, yeah, go to school, like versus actually taking the time to help the kiddos transition, be mentally prepared, their success and their ability to cope with changes and different things is just gonna skyrocket because of Holly's great parenting and doing stuff like this. So
He's gonna give me all the credit. I don't deserve all the credit. But a couple more things. After they can have that pre-experience and have a social story or a visual schedule, you can incorporate preferred activities. So things that that they like to eat, that they like to do, something that they like to have, whether it's some kind of like fidgeting toy or something involved to help them with those preferred activities and also with sensory needs. Just try and expand your imagination. What could possibly bug my child? Like that's what I'll do when I enter a room. Okay, those cords right there are gonna bug Ezra like crazy because he has to have them. He also has possible OCD and ADHD and apraxia, and so some things are really difficult for him. And so with sensory needs with Ezra, it's a big deal. He will get overstimulated with sounds, and so I'll have to try and anticipate, okay, that sound is really going to bug him. Maybe we'll need to bring his headphones. He can carry them, decide when to put them on, things like that. But we did try to do this when we took him fishing.
yeah, so we'll put this video in there too, but we took Simon fishing, and one thing that's important, yeah, again, is all these little things that actually make a big difference. It's that planning ahead, right? Of like, okay, I know that he loves these snacks, so we're gonna pack these snacks. It's something that's like a comfort thing for him, right? It's something that like if there's something that he doesn't really want to do, we're not gonna force him, like touching the fish. He actually got super scared just by reeling the fish in. The fish actually splashed some water on him, and he just like flipped out.
Got on his lip, and he like tasted really bad because it's this lake water.
Lake water, yeah.
It was not a good experience.
And so he was going crazy about that. And I think that's all in the video. We'll post that there. But it was funny. But the important thing is to also just think about those things that bring comfort and also incorporate those into that transition. So fishing, bringing him his the camping chair that he's comfortable with, things like that. It's little things like that that make the big difference to help these kids have a good experience. And we want them to have a good experience, right? We want them to love fishing. We want them to love being in the outdoors. We want them to love school. But man, that first impression is super important. If they don't have a good first experience, then it's probably likely that they're not going to like it.
It's hard to go backwards.
Yeah, I hated school growing up, as a kid. And so it's like I
I
think
love
about
school.
you think about the things that could have been done differently. I don't know, but who knows? But the thing that I just appreciate with Holly's preparation with all these things is it just makes it so that Simon and Ezra have a lot more positive experiences than negative than would be otherwise. So
And don't be too hard on yourself as a parent. Like, even though we prepared as much as we could, his camping chair actually fell in the water. And just these things happen that are out of your control, and it's okay. But even preparing a little bit more, even thinking about, these tips can help a lot. It's okay if it's not perfect. Okay, so moving on to small transitions. We call them small, but these can be big things. Before we go into this, like just an example, Simon, when he was starting therapy when he was 2 years old, he just barely got had just barely got diagnosed, and we were starting therapy, and his iPad, which was not his iPad, by the way, it's just an iPad that we had, became a huge problem. And he's a lot better now, but it was such a big problem that I just told the therapist, I was like, I don't think you should use the iPad at all. Like, not even as a motivator. Don't even bring it into the room, because he can't transition out of it. Like, he can't. And of course they didn't believe me. They're like, "No, we work with lots of autistic kids. We know what we're doing." I was like, "Okay, just see what happens." And they brought the iPad in, and he cried the rest of the day. And then sometimes he'd get a little bit better for like 5 minutes, and then he'd go, "iPad," and you start crying again. And the therapist was like, "Okay, I see what you mean. This is a big deal." And so getting to know your child and getting to know how to help them transition, these are smaller transitions, but they're a big deal. So we're gonna be talking about why they're hard, why are transitions difficult, how to recognize the signs, what signs are there. There's different signs with different kids. I mean, Ezra's signs are different than Simon's, and they're different than our other kids that are older that aren't autistic. They have a hard time with transitions too, believe it or not. And then how to prepare in advance, give some ideas and really takeaways that you can do, like as soon as you stop watching this, you can do it today. Takeaways that are totally doable. And then some consistent routines that really help. And then what ways you can support and motivate your child. That motivation, that is a word. I wish I could just take motivation and put it in a bottle and then just like wrap it up and mail it to everyone. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Okay, so why are transitions hard? Just imagine you are doing your favorite thing, whatever your favorite thing is, whether that is playing a game, whether that's reading a book, whether that's relaxing, whether that's doing a sport. Maybe you're watching your favorite TV show. You've earned it. You've had a hard day. And right in the middle, someone says you have to stop right then when you're not done. That's what parents and teachers and caregivers do to kids all the time. They don't give them warnings. They don't help them understand like why they need to stop. They just expect it. And so one thing, that's the reason why transitions are hard a lot of times, is because you may not have, and this happens with kids all the time, whether or not they're autistic, but they may not have the ability to understand, oh, I'm going to be at my friend's house for 2 hours. And then they're not going to be looking at their watch going, oh, it's going to be about 15 minutes. You're just going to interrupt them and knock on the door in the middle of their play. And they're going to be like, what? And that's hard. Transitions are hard. So it changes, disrupt predictability and routine. That's difficult, especially things that you can't plan, things that you can't control. Difficulty with shifting attention or focus. If you're really focused on something and then all of a sudden you have to get out of that mindset and focus on something different.
And those intense focus, I think, so like with our two autistic kids, especially like Simon, like he does this thing where he'll run back and forth in the
Yeah.
house, just run,
I
run
did
back
that
and forth.
yesterday, right?
And like even if I grab him and pick him up and like tickle him and stuff, like he's in this zone of like, I'm running right now. And even though he likes being picked up and tickled
He
usually,
loves it. Yeah.
when he's in that zone of something that he's doing, like he's like, okay, I'm done. Like I need to start running again
Yeah,
and
he's
get
like wiggling out of your arms.
yeah, like
You interrupted my
my
running.
running, yeah. And
It's hard. Yeah.
so especially I think the kiddos who have autism, it's even more difficult to get out of that intense interest, whatever it is. So just keep that in mind. If you think of your most intense thing, like Holly said, and you're in the middle of it and you're interrupted, you have to take that and probably, double it, or triple it, to compare it with some of the intense interest that these kids have.
Yeah. I was interviewing a woman who's autistic. She's an adult, and she said that she's like, I like to tell people this. I like to describe it this way. And this is the way she described it. When she goes to a store and sees a an item that has her favorite cartoon character on it, she says, my feelings are like I just won the lottery. I just won $1 million. And so if you just tell me that there's no way I can have that, she's like, it is hard for me to deal with. And so it's just those intense feelings. Yeah, those intense interests. And then also sensory overload can make transitions harder. Because if you think about it, a lot of transitions mean changing to a different place, a different experience. And so you're going to have different sensory input. And so a lot of times I can see with my autistic kids, they'll get used to a room, they'll get used to a place and the sensory input. And then all of a sudden you're in the car and the car heater smells and it's too hot. And so that sensory input is just more intense as well. So yeah, so that's why it can be hard. So with recognizing signs, um, so there's this autistic woman who described one time her experience of growing up, and she didn't know she was autistic because, and this is what she said, because a lot of the times when she had a hard time with a transition, she would just shut down and just kind of stare at the wall. And she said inside she was suffering. She was having a very difficult time. In her words, she was having a meltdown, but no one saw because she just kept it in because obviously she would, be reprimanded and have negative responses from the people outside of her, so she would just shut down. So as you get to know your child, you can see the sign of, oh, maybe it looks different. Like Simon will be different than Ezra. And neither one of them really shut down like that. But I wanted to share that example because I feel like it's kind of unique too. Perhaps less unique for girls. But she wouldn't scream. She wouldn't yell. She wouldn't be on the floor kicking. She would just shut down and just stop doing everything. And then she would zone out so much that the teachers would be like, she always zones out. She's never listening. And they didn't even know that she was dealing with anxiety of those transitions. So those meltdowns or shutdowns can look super different. Avoidance or distraction, maybe they are just avoiding you. They're pretending like they don't hear you. Repetitive questioning, they're asking you again and again, even though you give them an answer, they're just asking you again and again so that they can stay at their friend's house, of course, but not ready to go. Hyper focus on a current activity. Like I said, you know your child. You know which activity they're going to hyper focus on and which activity is going to be difficult to get out of, just like Simon with the iPad. And we'll share things that we do with him that really do help. And then have anxiety or physical signs of distress. Those are usually more obvious, but again, it can look different on different kids. And so please don't rule out, especially if you're a teacher, caregiver, and you're working with, several autistic kids, please don't rule out anything. Like before you get to know that child. Just because you know this one child doesn't mean that another child's going to have like their meltdowns or their shutdowns, their signs are going to be the same because most likely they'll be different and that's okay. But those are just some signs to look out for. So some ways to prepare in advance would be visual schedules and calendars. You can give frequent warnings. So with Simon, with his iPad, this is a big deal at our house. When he's given permission to watch a show or do a little video game on a screen, he has to actually be the one to go in and set his own timer. And so you can use timers and countdowns. And when he does that, then he's in control. So we try to give him as much control as possible. And I mean, Ezra is different though. Ezra needs more of a Ezra needs to be distracted into the transition. But Simon can organize it in his head and prepare emotionally. But once that timer goes off, an adult needs to be around because he'll ignore it. He'll be like, "Oh, I can get away with this." And usually it's Marie that catches him. So I don't know. Hopefully that won't hurt their relationship. But they're like, "Wait, did your timer go off?" But he'll get sad, but he will put down what he wants to do. He'll put down his timer.
Yeah, which before, so like if we didn't do that or don't do that, like I mean, trying to get him, like if we just say, "Okay, Simon, it's time to be done with the iPad," that's a fit.
No, it would not be good.
Yeah, it's a fit. So it's amazing how these little things can make just such a difference in your life, as far as the little transitions that we do every day, if they're just approached in a little different way of giving him autonomy. So giving him that ability to actually go in and do it himself. He feels in control, right? And then the ability to, and I have actually seen him stop even by himself and just be done when the timer goes off. So it does happen.
We're making progress. It is possible, people.
Yeah, and so but that's just an amazing difference between, like if you're just always like, "Hey, time to get off the iPad." And so just approaching it in that little different way. Hey, Simon, I mean, you have to teach him the first time, right? To show him how. And then it's kind of cool because, oh, now I know how to do something new too. I can go into this timer thing and I can set timers. And so now he's in control. He somewhat almost likes doing that, I think, setting the timer.
He likes it.
And then when it goes off, it's like, yeah, even if he really doesn't want to stop, there's something about the fact that he set the timer and he did it himself where he'll stop, which is just awesome, without throwing a fit, without the old meltdowns that we used to have that, like Holly's shared. I mean, that could last all day, the rest of the day. Yeah. So
Yes. And with him especially, he needs those warnings. He needs the 5-minute warning. And if he's watching a show on TV where he doesn't have a timer, then we're like, "Okay, in 5 minutes, we're going to turn this off. In 3 minutes, we're going to turn this off." And then also tell him what we're going to do next. So it's not just the negative thing that I'm communicating, but after that, then you get to have your sandwich. He loves sandwiches. So it's like, upstairs, you've got a sandwich waiting for you for lunch. So he'll be much quicker with that transition because he knows what's happening next. So he can mentally prepare for that and get excited for the positive. But consistent routines. Consistent routines. I had some really interesting experiences with this, with Simon with songs. But did you want to talk about yours first?
yeah. So routines are just super important. When Ezra, I just the other day when we were in the cart at the store, like my mom was trying to get Ezra um, to get ready to go, right? But Ezra, as far as terminology, again, you got to know your kid. So Ezra, um, he knows certain things well, but other things he doesn't know at all. So my mom was trying to get him because he was standing up playing with toys and it was time to go. And so my mom was saying, "Okay, Ezra, it's time to go." So she was trying to by that make him sit down. "Okay, Ezra, it's time to go." And Ezra just wasn't comprehending. It's time to go. What does that mean? So what? Like, and so he wasn't sitting down. He was still trying to stand up and grab things. And then my mom was like 3 times like, "Okay, Ezra, it's time to go." And she's like, "He's not listening." And then Holly just turned and just said, "Ezra, sit down."
And then you sat down.
And then he sat right down. And so it's that consistency of in those transitions having things that you know that your kid knows, right? And Ezra knows sit down. And so when Holly used those words that he's familiar with and those words that he understands, bam, immediately he did what was asked. It's not that he's trying to be disobedient, or trying to be difficult, but a lot of times he just doesn't comprehend. We're gonna go. Like, why would I sit down? Like, it just that process wasn't ingrained in him, and so especially those a little more severe on the spectrum, you have to meet them where they're at and help them consistently get good at some key phrases, some key words, so that they really know what that means. And so with Ezra, that's absolutely critical to. So with, like Holly said, with transitions with Ezra, it's more about having those consistent things that he's used to, those predictable words, tones, and even songs.
Yeah, songs. So when Ezra was in preschool, I really didn't have much knowledge or experience with helping him with transitions because he's, my first autistic kid, and I was so grateful for the things that I learned from that preschool. It was an all autism preschool, and I went in to help out. And I saw Ezra do things that I didn't know he could do. I didn't know he was able to do. For example, I saw him play with some toys, and then they played a song in this preschool. Can you imagine 12 preschool kids? They're all autistic. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And once the song came on, all of these kids, including my son Ezra, put their toys down and stood up, and they went to their places, pre-designed places in the room with their color and their name, and picked up a picture of their next activity, went to their next activity, and put it on the wall where their next activity was. And I was like, that's like magic. Like, how did that happen? It was just because of a song. And that way of communicating, that way of creating that consistent routine was just so much more natural for these kids than if I had been the teacher and, I didn't know what I was doing. And I was like, I don't know, turning on and off the lights, trying to get their attention. I don't know what I would have done, but
Well, just most people just say, "Okay, it's time to do this."
yes,
Yeah.
do this. So those are things that you can do. Those are just, they might be a huge blessing in your life. And maybe that won't work with your child, but it's always worth, trying new things. So songs, cues, little rituals, you can use that same structure daily when possible. And especially when, because you know your child, you know what specific transitions and routines are just hard to leave. You know what activities, it's going to be difficult when you knock on that friend's door and it's time to go home because you weren't there to give warnings, you weren't there to set timers. And so that's difficult. A lot of times you can, but you can communicate, let the parent know you're going to be coming 10 minutes early so that you can go and be like, okay, I've set a 10-minute timer. When this is done and I'm done talking with, your friend's mom or whatever, then we're going to go. As soon as this timer goes off, we're in the car. And then you have to be consistent with that, right? You can't just keep talking and then they're like, wait, maybe I have time. Which that's a mistake I've made lots of times because I like talking. But those are some things that can really help with consistent routines. They really can. And they're going to look different with each child, and that's okay. But when you offer support and motivation, one of the first things is validate emotions. So there's a lady who lived in New York, and she had bought one of our programs, and I was working with her. She had 3 boys, and they were triplets, and one of them was autistic. I'm like, how fun was that? You have triplets? And she said, and we talked about validating feelings. We talked about a lot of things. But she told me about this experience of validating feelings and like how it changed her parenting. And I want to share it with you real quick. Just imagine you got 3 boys, triplets, and they were not identical, by the way. And she's getting them in the car. They're getting all ready to go to a county fair. They drive all the way there. They get there and no one's there because mom messed up. It's the wrong day. Like there's literally just a field because the county fair was done, picked up. You can imagine how sad the mom would feel because she just like ruined their day. But also imagine what those triplets were feeling. Imagine what the autistic kid was feeling. And it was such a disappointment. And they were mad. They were in the car in the parking lot of this empty field, and they were upset. And she said she didn't know what to do, but she remembered things that we had talked about. And she's like, I'm just going to validate feelings like crazy. I'm just going to go. That's all I'm going to say is you're right. It's not fair. You're right. I can see how you feel that way. I feel that way too. Like I'm super disappointed. Yeah. And I really wanted to go on that ride too and just validate those feelings and agree with them where they're at. And she said within minutes, they all calmed down. And I thought that was so fascinating because you'd think that it would take longer. You would think that a kid would be mad longer. But I think a typical reaction or response from a parent is like, okay, it's not the end of the world, guys. You're trying to help them feel better, but sometimes you just need to start with where they're at and validate those feelings. Because when a child feels seen and heard, then they feel like you're on their side. You're not against them. And that I think is true for every child, whether autistic
And
or not,
adults too. Yeah.
and adults. And so
Like,
I do that with
I need
him.
to take this lesson. Yeah.
So I'm like, if we've got some strong feelings here, I'm going to try and help. If I have patience at the end of the day, I'm going to try and help them feel seen and feel heard and validate their feelings, and not try and fix their problems because that's, telling them what to do is not going to fix. Telling them how to feel is not going to work. So that's the first one. The other one is offer choices. Choices are really important, especially for Simon.
Yeah, as far as so I had someone, I can't remember where it was, but I got in a routine where I was just always telling the kids. So bedtime was such a pain, right? Because it's like I just dictate, okay, time to brush your teeth. Okay, time to go
Remember,
get
we
your
have
pajamas
five.
on.
We
Yeah.
have 5 kids,
So
so
it's like telling all these people, like, go get your pajamas on, go brush your teeth, go get in your bed. And it's like just these constant demands. But I had one person tell me, like, you need to switch that around and just only use questions. And it was amazing the difference that that made. So rather than telling, that was the rule. You can't tell them anything. You have to ask, you have to turn it into a question. So it's more like, what should we do next to get ready for bed? And do you guys want to brush your teeth or read a story or how, giving them again that choice. And then what's next? And then what do you want to do? And it just changed the night routine. Not only was it 1,000 times easier, but it was fun and it was better. And they were choosing to do things rather than me dictating and then them not wanting to do it. So just that switch of giving them the control, asking questions is just a huge one. So I'd encourage you to try that out if you haven't. You can't tell them to do anything. All you can do is ask questions.
yeah, try it out and see if you can do that. See if you can only ask questions. Um, Another thing to help motivation is to use the first then, and I kind of mentioned this before, but instead of just saying we have to clean up, because that's a hard transition when it has to deal with work. But once we clean up this little part, right, breaking it into small parts is really important. Once we clean up only your laundry, then we can go and get a cracker with a piece of cheese, and then we can come back, and then we're going to do all of your trains. And when we do your trains, we're going to build them up as high as we can, and make a game out of it and try and just make it as positive as possible instead of, like Adam said, be that dictator of like, okay, you need to do all of it. I'll be back to check on you.
Yeah, clean your room.
And maybe your child is to that point where they can have that expectation, but ours are not yet. So we are still working on using the first then language and breaking the job up in small parts.
Yeah.
And then bringing those motivators in little by little. And our plan is to not stay there. Our plan is to help Ezra and Simon and our other children as well, our older children, to gain the most autonomy in their life, to build those strong relationships with them so that they have that relationship where they trust us. They know and feel that we're on their side and they can share with us like whatever they need to. We're a safe place. They can stim here. It's okay. This is their home. They're part of our family, an important part. And also, we're here to help them build that autonomy we're here to help them and support them and motivate them to be independent. And Simon's independence will probably look a lot different than Ezra's independence, but that's okay. Ezra is still progressing and moving towards independence every day at a time, right? Little at a time. We're working on it. It's great. And so as a parent, teacher, caregiver, remember you've got this. Transitions are hard. They're genuinely hard. You're not failing, even if you feel like you failed in the moment, you're not. If you don't give up and you keep on trying, and the next day will get better and the next day will get better, it's okay. And even if you feel, even if you feel like you're going 2 steps back and 1 step forward, know that you're not alone, because we feel that way all the time. All the time. I mean, Ezra has hit a new milestone where, like, just this week, where he's really good at taking off all of his clothes at night. And we're like, dang it, what is happening? And so we're just learning, okay, we've got to have those pajamas and the zipper in the back, and we've got to make sure he can't take it off. Yeah. So it's full of adventures. Every small improvement matters. I hope that you feel seen. I hope that you feel understood and not feel alone, because you are your greatest child. You are your child's greatest support.
And yeah, we're here for you. So scan the QR codes, lots of ways to contact us, and create a community around helping parents implement these things, because it's something that it's not easy. You need a community, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what we're trying to support and do with our YouTube channel. It's amazing the people all over the world that comment, and it's now, I think it's the most watched YouTube channel with young children in the world, and it's because of, like, they really relate to Ezra and Simon. It's amazing to just read the comments and hear, and it's amazing for us as parents to learn from them. We have a community where we talk each week, and we chat with everyone in our ASD club, and it's amazing to have those autistic individuals on there share with us. This is why Ezra and Simon do this.
Yeah, we've learned so much.
And we're just like, oh my
so
gosh.
much from them.
Like, yeah, like stuff that we would never think of.
Yeah, like Ezra, for years, he just goes like this. And I've never figured out why he does that. And then an autistic adult in one of our meetings says, well, I know why. And I'm like, please tell me. And they're like, well, because, and she just told her own experience as an autistic individual, said, I hate noises that I can't control, that don't have any kind of rhythm. So that would be like a hair dryer or a vacuum. So if there's any kind of noise, even if they're noises that wouldn't bug a neurotypical person, but they bug her, she will want to control them and turn it into a rhythm. And so I just imagine that if there's a noise that Ezra hates, he can just pat his ears a little bit and create a rhythm and then deal with that really annoying noise. I'm like, he's just dealing with sensory input that he's dealing with that's really uncomfortable for him. And so I think that's good to remember.
Yeah, I learned so much from those guys. So it's so nice to have all the different perspectives from autistic individuals, because man, we just don't get it. It's like, so
we try, but yeah.
So it's so good to have a community and that support, and we're here to support you guys. So let us know anything that we can do to help out.
Wow. Thank you so much, Holly and Adam. That was really great. Just a few things that, like, I was jotting down some notes, some of the things that you said. I love the idea of having them set their own timer. I think that's a really good idea, because sometimes if we set the timer for them, we're still the ones in control. That gives them a little bit of control for the transition. So I think that's great. And then mentioning about using the same words is important. Like saying time to go, or as opposed to sit down. Like your son didn't understand that because you used the same words over and over. And grandma, I guess, didn't realize that. So it's good to know that sometimes just having the same phrase will help transition. And then, of course, music is wonderful, like having a song to transition from one thing to another. I know when my kids were little, just music was great. I used to make up songs for brushing teeth and for all kinds of things, and that was always helpful. And then using the questions to give choices. I think that's a great idea. Asking, do you want to do this or this rather than saying go and, brush your teeth or get ready for bed. So that's very helpful. And then the first then statements, saying, first we're going to do this, but then we get to do that. That gives them a little bit of like a prize at the end. So, that
Yeah.
helps too. But I do have a few questions for you. So can you share some specific strategies to help children with autism develop coping mechanisms for unexpected changes during transition?
Yeah, coping mechanisms. It's all about anxiety and bringing that anxiety down, because once someone is calm, then they can focus and they can learn. And so just a lot of things that have really helped our kids are honestly just sensory toys that are their favorite. And sometimes they'll get bored with the sensory toy, so then they can go back and find another one. People that watch our channel have mailed us sensory toys. It's so awesome. I was like, where did you find these? Like, people from Australia giving us packages um of things that have really helped. And so it could be really simple, but anything that can, be physical, like a little sensory toy, or that you can practice that can bring that anxiety down. And so don't be afraid to kind of get out of the box and do something unusual, like watch a little movie and then talk about how the person on the movie was really mad and how did they calm themselves down, and talk about it. And maybe that visual movie can help your autistic child more than you explaining things. But just finding that specific thing that helps your child with their anxiety. And it can be like as big as like they need to jump into a ball pit. We actually made a homemade ball pit for Ezra. We had one of those pack and plays and we just filled it up with little balls, and he would just fall in there and he'd just be still. He'd just be like, this is the best. That helped him. Now you can't take a ball pit with you everywhere, right? So you can do little things. You can find little ways to bring that anxiety down and just practice things. Like, try out things. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. Try something else.
Yeah, for Ezra, as far as he has to have something in his hands. So
Oh, yeah.
always has to have something in his hands. His favorite things, for those who watch our channel, that it's cords.
Courts.
So but it's interesting because he'll get tired of a cord. Like, it has to, so we have to go to new cords. So it's like this constant thing. The dollar store, how many cords have we bought? Our dollar store.
Hundreds.
Hundreds.
Hundreds. Maybe even upwards towards 1,000. I don't know how much money we've given the dollar store, but because you can get brand new packages of cords for $1.25, and that's the only place really that sells it that cheap. So we have given them a lot of our money to try and potty train our child.
But it's that so consistency, but yet also he does need some variety and new things, novel things.
Yeah.
So after a while, this cord for some reason just doesn't do it anymore, and he's got to have a new one. So
We have a friend, an autistic adult that lives in Canada, and he says he has bins that has all of his sensory toys and things like that, and things he can fidget with, and he will close it and put it away for 3 months. And he has a timer that after 3 months he'll open it up again and switch them out, and that works for him. So it might seem really simple, but yeah, just even as an adult, like, it's okay. You can have your inner child come out and you can let yourself stim and let yourself be a kid again. Because I feel like that, when you connect with your inner child too, that can really help bring anxiety down, and just let yourself be, human, and it's okay.
So what role does self-advocacy play in transition planning, and how can parents encourage their child to develop important skills?
Yeah, self-advocacy is really important. With those who are verbal, you can do so much more, right? Just so much more. We actually do this with one of our other kids. They have an IEP, and so they'll have a 3x5 card, and actually several, with a list of all of their accommodations that they can ask for legally. It's in their IEP, And if you're not from the United States, that's just a legally binding contract that says it requires your school to do certain accommodations for your child because of their needs. And so he'll have a list and he'll be able to take it out so that he can be reminded, oh, I can ask for this. And this is something that my IEP says I can do. And if the teacher forgets, I can ask. And sometimes it's easier just to have that card to like remind the teacher, make it a little bit more official. Be like, look, this was given to me by my parent. This is on my IEP. Can I do this? And then it's a little easier for them to ask and be that self advocate. So that's just one tactical idea that we use in our family. But there are many ways, especially with practicing. Just do a role play. Be like, hey, what if this happened and you were overstimulated and you needed a break? How would you go to the teacher and tell them? And like, what if the teacher's really busy? What if the teacher's teaching? How are you going to interrupt? And even like one of our good friends, she's autistic and she lives in Switzerland. She's like my favorite. She's awesome. But she's like, she had such a hard time in school because the teacher would teach things wrong. And she'd be like, well, I can't let her just teach it wrong. And so she'd always be interrupting or whatever. But I don't know if this has much to do with self advocacy, but she had to be taught several times and explained like the reason why it's kind of rude to tell your teacher that they're wrong and repetitively in front of everyone. But then she did. She's like, I understand now that that's rude, and maybe should correct people in a place where they're not shamed. But that had to be taught. And so with self advocacy, just play, like do a role play, teach, practice about how they can stand up for themselves if you get bullied or if you think you get bullied. That's happened a lot where it's like, I don't know, are they bullying me? Ask the AI and the AI will tell you. Just tell the AI, this is what happened today at school. And the AI will be like, you're getting bullied. And then you're like, okay. But practice what should you do if someone's being really mean? What should you do? Who should you tell? And when should you tell them? And how should you tell them? You can go through all those things and practice those social skills, because one thing I've learned with Simon too is he may not seem very autistic to most people, but I can see that he has learned so many things because we practice with him, because the therapist practiced with him and things like that. So just step by step, role play and progress it. And if that little card helps too, that's helped us a lot.
Right, right. And last question, what are some key indicators that a transition plan is working well, and how should parents adjust if progress seems slow?
Well, I think the key thing there is progress is slow. It's still progress. It's still progress. And so please don't be too hard on yourself. Please don't be too hard on with too many higher strict expectations on your child. If it's progress, then it's progress. They're progressing. I know it can be, I mean, I know, we know, we know progress can really seem slow, but if it's progress, then celebrate. Like, even if you are down and this is sad and this is hard, I mean, it's not butterflies and flowers all the time. It's a lot of times it's cleaning up, throw up because they ate too much, because they don't know when they're full and you didn't lock the cabinet or the fridge when you're supposed to. And it's messy, but in the mess, in the slow progress, celebrate. And that will help so much. And just keep communicating with your child too. I think that's the tricky part about Ezra, is we are still trying to figure out ways to communicate in ways that he can really understand, and in ways that he can show us that he understands. I'm sure he understands a lot more than he lets on. Probably a lot more. But in ways that he can like let us know, okay, you understand this. But as you communicate with your child, ask them. Keep that open conversation going all the time so that they can feel safe to come up to you and ask questions. And you can ask on how progress is going in school. And one thing too that another autistic adult helped us out with is she was talking about how the past is really annoying to talk about for her, because it's boring. It already happened. So like, why would you talk about it? But she really likes talking about the future. So even just in that conversation with your child, you can figure something like that out. But I would never guess that. I would never figure that out on my own. I would have to be told by an autistic person that that's the way that they think and feel. And so just keep that communication open so you can figure things out like that. And then now we can go up to her and be like, what are you excited about today? You know? So if your teenager who's autistic really hates talking to you about their day, ask them about what they're going to do later that day instead of, and just try, you know. But it's the open communication for sure.
Yeah, what are you excited about?
Yeah, what it's about.
The and Ezra, so yeah, just keep in mind with progress, and sometimes there's not progress. It's
Sometimes it feels that way.
for a long periods of time, right?
Sometimes there's regression.
Yeah, sometimes there's regression. And so there's a lot of just be patient with yourself. Know that you're not in this alone. There's millions of people all around the world who are in a similar place, and just know that we're here for you, and they're here for you. We're here together, and as long as we just wake up, do the best we can, and learn a little bit every day and try something new, then great. You're doing a good thing. So even those days when you're saying there is no progress and there is no hope, like, know that there is. That if you're waking up and you're taking on the day, trying one thing new today. Maybe it's the questions or whatever it is, but just know that you're loved. We appreciate you for being a caretaker of someone like an Ezra. I was just talking to another lady in India
Oh yeah.
yes
Like
Saturday, and she
a
was
saint.
yeah, just a saint. So she basically in India, there's a lot of times where kids like Ezra are just shut up in a closet and they're just ignored. And so she has 3 kids like Ezra now that she's actually taking care of.
And they're not her kids, they're abandoned
They're
children.
abandoned children.
Yeah.
So just know that, like, you're loved, you're appreciated. There's people out there who are really fighting for and trying to help these beautiful kids who struggle with autism in different ways. And there's a community here. We're here for you, and just know that you're doing great. So keep it up.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much. I know you've provided a lot of really great ideas, a lot of hope for our parents, and just hearing that they're not alone, I think is just a really great message. So thank you so much for all that you do, and yeah, blessings to both of you with your family and all your children.
Thank you.
Yes, all of them. We have a handful.
Right.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you.